Search is evolving faster than ever. Google is reshaping the search experience with AI overviews and AI mode. OpenAI, Anthropic, and other platforms are changing how people discover information. And marketers are trying to figure out what trends are real and which are just hype. So what does the future of search actually look like? I'm Jordan Koene, and joining me today is Danny Goodwin, Editorial Director of Search Engine Land and SMX. Danny oversees editorial coverage across SEO, PPC, AI search, and digital marketing topics, which help shape programming for SMX, one of the industry's leading search marketing conferences. Today, we're going to talk about SMX predictions for the future of search, what marketers should actually be paying attention to, and where the industry is headed next. Danny, welcome to the Voices of Search podcast.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
I'm pumped. This is a lot of fun. We're actually recording at the SMX conference here in Boston. And just want to get your thoughts, like how's day one gone and what are your thoughts on the event so far?
Yeah, it's a world of difference. So we came back for the first time last year, and I just remember last year being super anxious about it because it felt like, this is the first SMX back since the pandemic. Like we hadn't had an in-person event since 2020, I believe. And it was just like no one was putting the pressure on us, but it was like, I think I put it on myself, and I just really wanted it to be a really great show and just be like, hey, we're back. I feel like we did that, but there's always room to improve. And I feel like, I don't want to jinx anything, but we're here at day one and I'm hearing a lot of amazing feedback. People who are at both shows are saying this year's content is even better than last year. So that's amazing to hear. So, It's been a great day. I'm super excited. It feels like almost like part conference, part family reunion too, because you're seeing so many old friends who you've known for years, and I've been around almost 20 years at this point. So I know a lot of these folks and love them. So it's great to be back.
It's awesome. Yeah. I love it. And you have a unique vantage point, right? Between running Search Engine Land, running the SMX event. You get exposed to so many conversations across the entire digital marketing landscape. Right now, where we are with AI being at the focal point of how consumers, how brands are trying to discover and be discovered through these platforms and experiences, what's the most important information that you're seeing coming out through these channels that you have control of?
Yeah, it's funny enough. Brand, I think, it seems to be the thing. And I don't mean just, build a brand. I think it's really just, when I say brand, it's really an entity, and like just being a recognizable, for whatever you do, you have to be something special nowadays. The internet was, or the web, I should say, the web was a huge change where anybody could come online, make a website, get traffic and all that stuff. Now, to an extent, I think that's going to change because it's going to be you just have to be kind of not spectacular, but you know what I mean? It's like you have to be something very noteworthy and notable. And those are the brands that I think are going to win. I think it'll be more challenging for like a little blog to exist anymore. Like I have these thoughts. I'm like, like the ironic part of all this is that Google, of course, made AI based on all the hard work of so many people who created content for the web. And now those people are going to get squeezed out because how do they monetize anymore? Right. So at that point, if all those go away, you can say that, yes, Google has all that information, but they're not going to get any new information if no one has an incentive heading forward. So true. Again, it's like, that's why I think it's going to be like kind of a big brand world unless something changes, at that point.
Well, this is interesting. And I think I do agree. I think brand is at the center of a lot of the AI race conversation, but it's coming at least from the vantage point of how are you influencing your brand and your message, right? And I think this is not uncommon in the search space. I mean, we've had our eras of link building or whatever phrase you want to call that. And right now you hear so much about Reddit. You're hearing so much about digital PR, and there's this revival of like how to build awareness around a brand. Why is this happening? What's your perspective on this shift towards that, a few years ago, everyone was probably more technical, more foundational focused, more like content plays and motions versus this brand sentiment that you're highlighting from the show today.
Yeah, and I'm funnily going to go back in time a little bit. I think it was 2008 or so. I remember Eric Schmidt, who was then the CEO of Google, was speaking at an event, and he said, the web is a cesspool and brands are the solution. And I think at that time they didn't have AI at that time, but I think they knew where they were going. And I feel like that's kind of be the key thing heading forward now. It's not only just being a brand and influencing, but it's kind of defining yourself, because when you visit a website, I'm sure you've seen it plenty of times. You go to a website and like gobbledygook, and they're like, what is this website actually about though? And they're just not using plain language to say, hey, this is what we do and this is who we do it for. And that's one of the key themes we were hearing about at SMX today. It's like you have to define who you are and what you do and who you do it for. And I think that will be a huge thing heading forward. And it's not a hard thing to do, but it also is, because the web, anyone can publish anything on the web saying you do this thing, and then that gets sucked up by the LLMs, and well, how do you deal with that then? That's another challenge on top of that, because there's always going to be kind of those, whatever you call them, like your competitors, but unethical competitors who are just going to like kind of poison the system. So.
Well, with this history, right? A history of maybe practices that may not have been the most useful for consumers. And we've seen this before in SEO. There's I think a real threat today to the concept of the open web, largely maybe because of this, right? Because Google has taken action over years. Now we have LLMs that are trying to convey a response that captures the essence of what the user is looking for. And they're giving almost no or zero credit. Last week or the week before, Google announced at I/O that they had 13 products with 1 billion monthly active users. 2 of those being AI Mode and AI Overviews. Arguably, you could say they're just piggybacking off of traditional search, but semantics, right? The question for you on this is where is this AI search experience going, and will it truly take over the traditional search experience?
I think ultimately it will. I think we're in a transition period right now. We're all fighting about what do we call it? Like, is it AEO, GEO, all that fun stuff. But I think ultimately we're going to be heading toward agentic. And, a Googler, I forget which part of Google he was in, but he basically coined the new term, agentic search optimization. I think that's where we're eventually heading to, because it's going to be an agentic web. So that's going to mean a lot of change and exciting times ahead, I guess. So, yeah, I think I kind of lost what the question was in there, but
I think you brought it to the right place where I wanted to go next, which is like, does this then mean, if this is going to be the future of search, does this then mean that the open web is dead? Because ultimately now you're going to have responses without a set of rankings and choice. So is the open web now at a point of inflection in its construct? And you hear a lot of brands talking about, I don't want to be consumed by an LLM. We've heard it today, even from some of the folks on stage, that I'm blocking LLMs. And so is the open web, at a crossroads?
I think so. I don't know if I'd say it's quite dead. I know Mike King recently came out with an article saying that the open web is dying. I don't think he's wrong. I think it's definitely on the endangered list right now. We'll see how it all unfolds. It's always so dangerous to make predictions like saying something's going to happen, because there always can be like something that shifts everything. But current trajectory, I feel like the future of search is where Google has always told us it's going. It's sort of the idea of the old Star Trek computer, where you literally just ask a question and you get an answer. And it's over the years we've had these discussions like, how many articles do you need on how to fry an egg? Like, that is the open web to an extent. It does get kind of polluted with that sort of content. Not saying that all SEO is bad, because it's not. Like, it helps a lot of places or a lot of brands make money and do great things, but there is also that element to it too, or it's like informational content. I think informational content is dead. It still has a place maybe on websites. Like Aleta Solis was talking about this today. It's like, it may not have the rankings or traffic that it used to, but it's still important for topical authority. So yeah, it's so strange to think about, like, we're creating content for a medium that is potentially like going away in time. But
I mean, this is why I'm asking the question.
I know.
I mean, you are the editorial director of Search Engine Land, one of the most well-recognized resources in our industry. It's a place where people go for information. It's where I think a lot of it's one of the recommended resources that I give to junior new folks that are joining the SEO and the search community. But if the open web is in a crossroads, it makes Search Engine Land look like it's in a difficult spot, right? Long term. Yeah. But tell us more about where Search Engine Land is today. How is the community, both of contributors and readership, and the value that it is providing as we're seeing this industry change? Yeah,
it's interesting, because you would think, we hear a lot of websites are down 50% year over year. We're not actually seeing that, and I think it's in part because our community is trying to learn all this stuff right now. So we've become a very important resource. And I think we're kind of a really good model for what a website should be, which is, yes, we do have some informational content, but we're also trying to bring in the experience of people who are doing it. Like, it's not us just talking about things in theory. It's like, EEAT gets a bad rap sometimes, but it's like, you really want people who have that experience and expertise in a topic, because they can share what's going on, what they're seeing, what's working, what's not working. And that ties so much into what our mission has always been. It's to keep people informed on all the latest developments, the trends, everything. And I've always said, I want to make whatever publication I'm working for, the standard for me is, does this help people? Like, does it help them do their jobs better? Does it keep them informed? Does it help them make more money? Yes. Like, the goal should be being helpful. Like, and I know helpful content gets a rap, but helpful content is helpful to people in a lot of ways, and it's not just a buzzword, even though it's become one. But yeah, so it's like, I always think about, like, that's the bar. Like, is this piece of content going to be helpful for somebody who's having this problem? And it's been like so nice at the shows. Every time we come out, it's like they'll reference, oh my God, I was struggling with this thing, and then an article came out on Search Engine Land. It was like that, I forget whatever the word is, serendipity maybe, for like, and then, oh my God, it helped me so much. So yeah, that's really what it is. It's just, we really want to be a helpful resource for people. So yeah, and we're in a good place. We actually just expanded our contributor program by a lot. Now we're like 4 contributors per day usually. Wow. And I know we added you and a couple pre-visible people, which has been awesome to have you guys contributing.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's good. I mean, news is crazy as always. Every time there's a core update, hey,
people are still coming to find core updates,
right? It's like core update. Hey, that's great for our traffic, but I know it's terrible for people, and I'm not like making light of that, but it's like, and it was funny too, because that and some other story blew up recently, and we're just like, we're gonna have a great traffic month, and I'm just thinking, it's too bad the traffic doesn't matter anymore. It's all about citations and mentions. So
I was going to ask you about measurement, but we'll get to the measurement topic. Let's stay on Search Engine Land a little bit, and what it does for the community. And you brought up that we contribute at Previsible, and we've done some first party research. I know that you guys publish a lot of research, and I'm want to get your lens, your perspective on research and where it is today, because everybody is trying to understand, what is this thing? What is ChatGPT? How is Anthropic Claude going to become not only a tool in what we use in our workplace, but a vessel for discovery of information and content? How is first-party research helping you all at Search Engine Land and helping the SEO or search community at large?
So I think it's if we're honest, it's kind of an authority play. It's because, you're getting something unique data that you can't get anywhere else. And I think that gives you an authority, and that's a good thing. And especially when it's really good data that helps people understand what's happening. And there's so many different avenues you can look at where things are happening. Oh, wouldn't it be nice if we had some data on that? Because, through the years, there's been a lot of anecdotal discussions. So it's just always incredible when you can put out actual data on anything. So we really appreciate, people who contribute, like you guys do some really great research, and we try our best to highlight it for people and push it out hard.
And I mean, one of the things about, I think, first party research and where this is, I think, critical is the fact that measurement is very murky today.
Oh yeah.
And even as we're sitting here, I think it was this week, Google released their new AI performance section within Google Search Console. A lovely sliver into what actually could be useful. Yep. That's not a dig, but it's a very direct statement that you could have done a lot more there, Google. Yep. But thank you for impressions.
Right.
But in reality, like, measurement is one of these things that we're all struggling with as this industry changes. And I have a long history here in the SEO space, and one of the things that I had the fortunate opportunity of being a part of is working within the tool community, right? I was at Searchmetrics for many years, and collecting keyword data was not an easy thing to do, but it was a backbone to a lot of these SEO platforms because it was generally reliable and accurate data, right? Today, we don't have any of that data when it comes to LLMs. Right. It's not like, up until this week, Google was not giving us a ton of data about what's happening in their AI experiences, overviews, and mode. Yep. So where do we need to go as an industry to get reliable data to have good measurement?
That's the question, I think, right now.
That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing, so again, like, I'm kind of in a unique place where I never really used SEO tools, and that may surprise some people, but it's just I follow the community. So like what people are talking about, and just, having been around long enough to know, like, it's kind of, I mean, not that it's a perfect, but, just kind of separating like signal from noise, like what's actually important here. So yeah, there's been so many discussions about it. I don't know. I mean, this would be a theoretically great place to plug SEMrush, but sure. You can try. But again,
they're
it's
the
like
parent of the parents. So.
The thing I always just think about, though, like Rand Fishkin had that great research out, many months ago at this point, just pointing out that 10 people can do the same prompt in 10 different locations and get 10 different results.
Yeah.
So it's like,
is visibility useful then?
I don't think so.
With you.
I'm with you. But yeah, I think it's the case. You really need like the kind of the user panel data. I don't know if that's the right term, but like actual panel data of actual search. So I don't think you're going to get any useful information. But then the thing you also think about there is there's the privacy issue, because you think if you're Google and people are asking these really private, like health related questions, like, can you give that out? Because the more personal these things get, the more traceable they get. So it's really hard to anonymize that. And I think that was the rationale for voice search. I mean, when voice search came out, when are we going to get voice search in Search Console? They never did it, because I think in part because of that, but also because there's just so much of it. Like, how do you make that useful? And I think it's an even bigger problem for prompts.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's a huge problem for prompts. And I think there's a big a black hole over what is real data and what is useful data right now. And I hope we can find some answers over the coming months. Yeah. As we talk about search engine land and in the community, like, what are some of the things that you would love to see more of? Like, if you could make an ask from the search community, what would that be? What would be some of the topics, content, the types of contributors you would love to see to come into the search engine land ecosystem?
Yeah, that's a great question. Really, the people that we want are people who will think of things that I wouldn't have. Like, that's it's probably a funny thing to think about that way, but I just think of it like that. Like, so when in end of last year, when we opened up an application, that was sort of my bar. It's like, ooh, like I would have never thought of that as a topic. So it's like, that's a person I want, because they're like into a little niche or just like thinking a little differently than I am. Because it's like, you know, I feel like I have a good hand in understanding what is important to people, but you know, I'm also blinded by my own, you know, experiences and whatnot. It's sort of like the same thing with like your personal network. It's, you know, you're limited by who you know. Right. So it's like the more outside you can get, the more people you can meet and know and learn from. I guess it's like ultimately diversity, like just a diversity of ideas, like really good ideas. So we're looking for people who want to help move the community forward, and, you know, explore these things. You know, we don't enforce any doctrines on people where it's like, you have to believe X, Y, and Z to write here. And we've gotten into trouble with that from some people who are like, you can't be publishing this. But I'm like, yes, we can, because we're a community site. Yes. And I feel like conflict sometimes creates the conversation you need to move forward as an industry. So,
I mean, and I love that, because you have been challenged online.
Oh, absolutely.
Many times.
Yes.
About why you publish something, or why it isn't that you published it yourself. So obviously there's an author behind it.
Why Search Engine Land.
Why you chose to have that published on Search Engine Land. And, you know, tell us more about why you're standing up for that, right? I mean, this isn't necessarily like a freedom of the press type of a position, but it's more about like what we're doing in our industry and how we're contributing in this industry.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing with our industry is, you know, 50% will always agree with you, 50% will always disagree with you on anything. So, and, you know, they're going to endlessly debate, you know, what is it? What's the sitemaps? Not sitemaps.
LLMs.txt.
Oh, LLMs.txt. That's a perfect example.
Still being debated.
Still being debated.
Yes.
Like, I mean, we can't even settle what we're calling
the
AEO, GEO, you know what I mean? And some people are like, it's just SEO. No, it's not. You know, you can go back and forth on this. And I feel like if we weren't trying to reflect that diversity of thought out there, that would kind of be silly, you know, because there are really smart people on both sides who have interesting perspectives and things to share. You may not agree with 100% of what they write, but maybe there's one little nugget in there where you go, oh, that's an interesting idea. So, yeah. So, yeah, I feel like that makes Search Engine Land stronger. I hope it makes the community a little bit stronger, because it can bring, you know, a little bit of debate out there. And yeah, just again, it's like all about pushing things forward. If we just stay status quo, like nothing good ever comes from that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially with where we are right now with AI. So
on that point, where we are right now with AI, let's talk about Google and like where Google's going, right? There's another Danny that's been well known in the space.
Sure. Yeah.
And you know, we've seen a transition over the last, say, 5 years, where there's been some level of openness or information provided by Google. We're now seeing at least an effort from Google in terms of investing in Google Search Console. I always find it comical when I talk to John or Danny or any of these Google employees. You have so many engineers, you have thousands, tens of thousands of employees, and you can't put enough engineers to help fix Google Search Console. Like, it just doesn't make any sense, right? You have billions of dollars just sitting in banks, and you can't fix this nice little tool that helps so many people. Where are we going with information from Google? Is Google going to be providing us more information? Are we going to see more from an AI performance perspective? Is this going to help transform new governance that Google provides? They've also published recently about using AI for content. We're going to see more of that activity from Google.
So all I can go by is history. It's the best indicator of the future, and Google we've seen it. Like, the argument was always all other advertising isn't great because it's not trackable, but with Google Ads, you can track everything. Well, then slowly but surely, all the data starts going away, unless you're paying for Google Ads, of course. So, you know, we saw, of course, not provided was a huge step in this direction. So it's just like, slowly but surely, they take away more data. They take away more data. And yeah, it's unfortunate. I feel like, you know, like you're saying, why don't they fix it? I think that's telling. Like, maybe they don't have any plans to fix it. I think that's where they want it to be. So again, like, all you can go by is actions and history, and all of that points to we're not getting anything, you know, significant.
On the topic of AI and where AI is going, like this time next year when we're at SMX, is there going to be an AI track? Is there going to be a new track that focuses on where this is going? Or is this just going to be part of the traditional SEO, PPC, and channel tracks that you've had in the past?
I mean, that's a great question. Someone else had asked me that too. And it's an interesting thought. You know, I think for Next, we had called the track, our last online event was SMX Next in November. I think we called it SEO/GEO. I don't know. We never really had that conversation about the show. I feel like it is still SEO. I feel like AI is in everything, and the novelty of AI being in everything is sort of worn off to an extent. That's why I feel like the new hype will be agentic. So maybe it won't even be AI. Maybe it'll just be agentic next year.
There we go.
Yep.
There we go. Well, we can talk about agentic because I think that's a piece of your experience as well, which is you're getting to see where people are going with the use of AI. Agents and the use of agents is becoming more and more prolific.
Sure.
You know, and people are using agents to write content, to perform work, to do so many things. What's your point of view on agents? How should agents be managed or governed in the purpose or use of SEO or PPC or just digital marketing as a whole?
Yeah, I sort of view them as weirdly the same as people in a way because yes, they are technology, but they are working on behalf of a person. So, you know, it's essentially step saving. So, you know, instead of you having to do 5 different things, just let your little agent do it now. So I'm very curious to see how that will all evolve and what it means. I think there's a bit of overhype at this point. Like, you know, there was all the hype that AI is killing Google. Of course, their market share didn't really go down, and it's like 1% of ChatGPT is search. Or sorry, ChatGPT search is like 1% of market share. I said that wrong. So it's like, yeah, nothing's killing Google. I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. Like you referenced with, you know, how many products?
13.
13 products have over
a billion
users.
That's
That's mind-blowing.
Yes.
So yeah, it's like Google's here to stay. And they're now really pushing hard into agents. I think we're going to start seeing more conversations in the community about that. I know, like, again, not to reference Mike King too much, but, you know, Mike is basically saying that's the future. And that's because that's where the technology is at this point. So, yeah, we have this. The one thing that sometimes can be bad about certain parts of the industry is they are slow to adopt and they want to kind of keep doing things how they've done them. But, you know, you can't do things in 2026 like you were doing 4 or 5 years ago anymore. And if you want to keep doing that a year or two from now, you're going to be in deep trouble.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
As you think about the future of agentic experiences and agentic kind of work, you know, a hard reality is that these companies are getting enormous, right? If you think about OpenAI, you think about Anthropic, both of these have announced that they're going to be likely going public at some point, both going public for over $1 trillion. SpaceX is likely to go public as well, and they also have a bunch of AI products within their portfolio of companies. You know, this industry is going to become enormous very quickly. Yeah. And it already is, but in a very, very weird way, there's going to become these oligarch-like size companies that control where people find information.
Yep.
And as a publisher, as a contributor to an industry, like, what risks does that bring to us as consumers? How should we be thinking about the impact of these companies having so much control over how we access information?
Yeah, it is a huge risk. I love the oligarch. That's it's a very accurate metaphor or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I mean, when you really think about it, you know, Google, if it isn't on the top 10 results, you know, historically, of course, before, you know, when it was more balanced and organic, you could go to page 2, page 3. There is no page 2 of AI. It's just, here are the brands. So if you're not on that
there's
list,
no page.
Exactly. Yeah, it's an answer. Yeah. So like, if you're not in that set, that's going to be a hard time, you know, trying to make money, try to really be out there. So that it is, again, it's like that. the big question is like, what happens again if you squeeze out all these brands and companies? Where are you getting all your new information from? And then you're just left with really, really big brands at that point who have a lot of money and can invest in resources to get in all these answers. And then it's just kind of like this feedback loop of they get recommended because there's nobody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think that this is going to create a new, kind of sub-market that actively tries to infiltrate these organizations? So, in SEO, this happened, right? Like there's whole communities dedicated to black hat SEO, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And so if you think about like where this is going, is there going to be a fragmentation of the industry where tactics, strategies, things that are discussed here at events like SMX or published on Search Engine Land are going to become broken into paths of ideology because of the need to try and secure that answer spot?
I like that. I honestly had never thought about that, but that would make a lot of sense.
I mean, I'm not trying to give you any ideas here, Danny.
No, I know, but yeah, it's like, online reputation management would be like one path, the opposite end is those companies that sort of extort you.
Exactly.
So it's like, you could see that, is there going to be some equivalent of link building? Like what is that once you figure out what that thing is that really moves the needle? I don't know if maybe the secret's in a patent somewhere that someone will uncover and go, oh wait, if we do that, that will drive lots of citations and mentions. So that's a very interesting thought. I'll have to actually give that some thought.
All right.
I don't have a great answer for it, but that's really intriguing. But yes, I think that it's definitely possible, especially the more that people understand this stuff. I think the problem is right now there's just so much information coming at you. It's so quick. It's like hard to keep up with it, even for us. And it's our job to stay on top of it. So even we miss things every once in a while.
How do you manage that actually? Like,
I mean,
you
Barry
brought that
Schwartz.
up. All right. So you have the brain that is on top of all of it.
I had the AI that was AI before AI.
Fair enough. But I mean, with Barry included in this effort, right? Like, how do you manage and filter what is going to be useful, what is going to be helpful, what is going to be of value in the community? I mean, because you're getting hit on every angle about changes. Not only are you yourself trying to consume and learn those, so is Barry for that matter.
Oh, for sure.
But you're also trying to then ensure that you're publishing and providing the right information to the SEO public. Yeah.
I mean, at some point, it's your gut, really. Like, it's your instinct, just kind of going. I've been doing this since 2007 at this point, so that's 19 years. You kind of just get a feel. It's like sometimes when we're trying to come up with ideas for contributors, we sometimes put a list together of ideas. I was just talking to Sarah Steeman, who's one of our PPC contributors, and she was like, one of the best articles, most well-received articles I ever did was one that you came up with. So it's like, it's just sometimes the magic just happens because you've been around long enough to know what is or feels important to people. And granted, 100% of the time you're not going to hit a grand slam, but when you do, it's like, oh, okay. It feels really good. So again, like, you go back to experience, like, it's just doing the work for so long, understanding it, being so deep in the weeds, like you've seen it. So you just kind of, again, it's really just kind of instinct at that point, and it's something you can't ever predict reliably. I wish there was.
So let's talk about predictions, and let's talk about how we're measuring where things are going. And you brought this up actually earlier in the show here, which is, whenever Google releases an update, there's just a lot of traffic. There's a lot of interest, right? Sure. And I'm still convinced that the reason you're getting a lot of that traffic is just PTSD, right? Like, people are like, oh man, I got hit so hard last time. I don't want that to happen again, right? Yep. But we have now a changing ecosystem, right? Yep. Where algorithm updates aren't really the backbone of evolution anymore. No. Will Google still have these updates? Probably. Yep. But what we really have is kind of model evolution nowadays, right? You've got, ChatGPT going from 5.2 to 5.3 to 5.4. You've got, Claude evolving throughout their versioning, right? Yeah. You have major releases, right? Like, Codex and others. And so is this going to be the new update model? Is this going to be the new way that we track how these experiences are being tweaked and then understand their impact on brands, on the industry at large?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've sort of had the thought that every time ChatGPT comes out with a new model, it's sort of like the old Google dance, which for those back in the day, once a month, I believe it was, they would update their algorithm and everybody would lose their mind if they lost their number one ranking, and then you couldn't get it back for a month at least. So, and yeah, it's like every time, and it's almost like you can see it too, especially if you have, like I have a lot of GPTs that I use for various tasks and be like, wait, why is it spitting out information like this? It didn't do that yesterday. And
Right.
Oh, they're testing something new.
Right.
They changed the model or something. So it's like you can start to see that stuff like the more you use the tools. So yeah. And it's like some of that stuff isn't super important. I think it's more just understanding. It's not, when I say not important, like model change, like maybe
Sure.
not super important, but yeah, it's just sort of getting a feel for where everything is going at this point, because again, there's so much. You just need to focus more on the big picture. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Now, I know I'm more of a SEO by trade and craft, but I want to ask you a few questions about paid.
Oh,
so I may be out of my depth a bit, but I'm going to give it a shot.
I may be too.
No. I think you may be able to handle this. But the conference and the content on Search Engine Land covers both paid and organic search. So, ChatGPT has been rolling out quite frequently here. Changes to their paid model. They've been now moving kind of towards a self-serve model.
Yep.
Sam Altman has been caught on tape stating that if you have to have ads on your search engine, you must be a pretty lousy search engine.
Right.
But now his search engine has ads.
Yep.
So where is ads and LLMs going? What is this experience? Is it a useful one today?
Yeah. So. Yeah, Sam also at one point said the only ads that he likes on the internet were Instagram ads. So he sort of modeled ChatGPT ads to be, in its own way. It's sort of inspired by. I wouldn't say it's a totally different thing, but
right.
I think that was his thing. It's like there's that whole belief that if you pay for ads, you rank better on Google. Like he doesn't. Yeah. We'll see if that stays true, but it's like. Yeah, I'm very curious to see how it will evolve, and also like how they convert. Like they even when they tried the shopping stuff that they were doing, like they gave up on that pretty quickly. So I'll be curious to see.
Did. Yeah, Agentic Commerce Protocol kind of went up and then kind of disappeared very quickly.
Yeah,
it was really hard and costly for them to manage that. We've got a lot of experience looking at that exact use case. But this is the challenge with paid, right? Like doing paid well is not easy.
No.
Right? And Google's been working on it for 20 plus years. And ChatGPT's got 6 months.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
But like, do you think like this is going to be the transition point for Google? Because Google also announced 2 weeks ago that they're going to have ads in AI mode.
Sure.
And so is that going to be then the tipping point that they clearly are the definitive winner of the AI discovery race in terms of them now both being able to secure more market share in terms of usage than ChatGPT and deliver an ad product that generates revenue?
Google has such a long head start. Again, it's like I wish for ChatGPT that they could like kind
You're
of fast
cheering
track
for
it.
them, Danny.
I am,
right.
And it's not because I love them, but it's like I just want somebody to compete with Google at this point.
Fair enough.
So yeah, I wish they could figure this out, but it's going to take years. And even in all fairness, like a lot of the technology that Google used, they didn't even create; they bought it. So, like maybe that's the play for them if they could find another player. Take their technology. I don't know if that exists out there, but something like that would be super interesting.
Absolutely.
So I mean, Google's been testing this ads and AI overviews, AI mode. It's inevitable, and again, like we got to think. It may not be called AI mode when it becomes the default. It may just become Google at that point. But that I think is what we're going to see. And it may, again, it may vary by some search intents. You get actual links to stuff, but for the most part, I think you're going to just see a conversational experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as we kind of wrap up our episode today, I want to ask you about where, our industry should be going in terms of learning and growing, right? You guys put on a lot of programming.
We do.
Not only programming during SMX, you guys have other master classes and
Yep.
activities here. You guys publish constantly. But like, what are you sharing with individuals that are learning and growing in this space to help them reduce the noise, reduce the chaos that is like a bombardment today of like changes and updates and new LLMs coming out and, the 400th AI visibility tracker that's been hitting me up for a conversation because they've solved AI for me. How do you help reduce the noise and find the information that helps you grow and learn?
That's a great question. I don't know if you can at this
You can
point.
take as much time as you need to answer that one.
Right? I know. It's like there is so much noise out there. Yeah, like how do you do that? I haven't found the answer myself yet. So, but it's different. Again, it's different for me because it's like I'm seeking this stuff out, whereas like it may be different for you, who like, oh God, I don't want all this. Whereas like I kind of do because then I'm seeing what's happening everywhere, like looking at all the chaos that's out there and trying to make sense of it and see, okay, this thing's good, but this thing is not. So yeah, it's just figuring all that out. If you want to cut down on the noise, find people who are actually sharing information and not just, like there was the big thing early on with like, oh, we did all these GEO tactics. Look at our traffic. It went all the way up and it stops at a certain point. And often it was like a couple months ago. Like, wait, what happened after after that chart cuts off there on the end? And it was like, oh, but we were great for 3 months. But yeah, if you're a big brand, that won't help you if you like completely torch everything. So like just look for people who have been around long enough. Like Lily Ray is always a great resource. Mike King, I read all the time. Dan Petrovic. Like there's so many good people. It's just like you got to slowly find those people that you can trust. And I can't tell you who to trust. So it's like you got to kind of it's like a smell test, I guess, for lack of a better word. Just follow people long enough and you'll figure out who are the people that you feel like you can trust. And also it's challenging too because one person may have great information, but it may not apply to your particular circumstance. So you may need to find somebody who's specific to legal or, a specific industry. Yeah, specialization. Yeah, exactly. So it's very tricky. So it's very much the case of like, find people that you trust and who specialize in what you need to know, because one thing definitely does not apply to all when it comes to AI, just as it never did for search either,
Never did.
It never did. Yeah. I mean, there's best practices, but there's different best practices depending on the size of your site, how much money you have, what industry you're in, like insert variable here.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, do you feel like that sense of community, that sense of like connection, that is that not only is that happening here at like events like SMX, but how else should that be fostered? Like where else can you find that, right? Like not everyone gets to come to SMX.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
And so how are ways that you think that this industry can grow in that building bonds and connections that help you understand how to grow in SEO?
Yeah. I mean, LinkedIn is always, it seems to be my place of choice these days. The other, I don't find a lot of value in other networks anymore, for various reasons. That's one way. I like to use Search Engine Land as a platform to give voice to people. A lot of people have found success for themselves, but also that kind of gets you out there. Like you think Aleda used to write for us, when she was coming up. Lily Ray used to write for us when she was coming up, and look at them now. And it's always funny to think about these people who was like, who were these people 10 years ago? You didn't probably had never heard of them, but now they're like the names. It's just and I'm a reader too, so it's like I would read sites that I respect, and that would, I've always looked up to Search Engine Land even when I wasn't, running editorial there. So because you knew that there was a high standard that you wanted people to hit. It wasn't just publishing 1,000 words of blah 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 blah. Like they were actually sharing helpful information. So just look for websites and people that you trust and feel like you're relevant. Yeah.
Anything that you want to share as we close up this episode about SMX, about search engine land and the value behind these two platforms?
Sure. I mean, yeah, like, so it was interesting. I'm a big fan of the movie Moneyball, and I don't know if you've ever seen it, but there was this one scene where Billy Beane goes to interview with John Henry of the Red Sox. And John Henry's like, why did you come, they're going to offer you a new contract. Why did you come here to do this interview? And I was like, because it's the Red Sox. You know what I mean? And I've always sort of looked at search engine land like that. It's like they're my Red Sox of this industry. Like they're the standard. And I grew up in Boston, so it's it's
no
also great. No coincidence. Yes. So Yankees suck. No.
Exactly.
But so it's just that was like the regard I always held them. They were like the New York Times for the industry, and it's like just been such an honor to continue that legacy. And funny enough, I don't know if you know this, but I was at Search Engine Watch first, which was also started by Danny Sullivan. And of course, Search Engine Land was started by Danny Sullivan. So that's why I became known as the other Danny for so long.
Yes.
But,
I wasn't going to bring that up.
I know. But I was literally introduced like that on the first or second conference I went to. An SES show. It was like, oh, hey, it's Danny from Search Engine Watch. Danny Sullivan? No, it's the other Danny. So, I had that whole legacy. But it's kind of cool to be, for someone who really pioneered SEO journalism, like to follow him not only at his first publication but his second, and just do my best to really kind of carry on what he started, and especially with these conferences. My God, the first SMX I came to, SMX Advanced, 2011, 2012, I just walked into the expo hall. I was like, oh my God, this is like, it was insane. Like just how many sponsors they had. Everything was just so professional everywhere. And I was just like, wow, this is like, I felt like, we were doing a good show with SES and Search Engine Watch over there, but I was just like, wow, like this just feels like 10 times bigger and better. So I always try to think, especially with a show like this where you're asking people to spend, was $1,600 for a ticket for 2 days. Like you want to give them an experience, learning, and the ability to meet people that they want to meet, like to bring like really smart people together so they can all talk and just help each other. So again, I keep going back to help, but like that's really my thing throughout my whole career. And just being thankful to the people who trusted me to play with their words and try to make it better, and and just all these amazing relationships that I've managed to have over the years. It's just incredible.
Absolutely. And I mean, thank you from me and from many of us in the industry for what you put on. I think this programming and the content is vital right now. It's critical to the evolution of what we're all learning in search.
Yeah, thank you.
And that wraps up this episode of the Voices of Search podcast. Thank you to Danny Goodwin, Editorial Director at Search Engine Land and SMX, for joining us. If you'd like to contact Danny, you can find a link to his LinkedIn profile in our show notes or on voicesofsearch.com. You can also read his work on searchengineland.com and learn more about SMX at smxadvanced.com. If you haven't subscribed yet and would want a daily stream of SEO and content marketing knowledge in your podcast feed, hit the subscribe button in the podcast app or on YouTube, and we'll be back in your feed every week. Okay, that's all for today. But until next time, remember, the answers are always in the data.